Hi guys, thank you for joining me today on the Healthy Olive channel. And today's question is peanut butter healthy for you? Short answer is yes. Peanut butter is healthy for the majority of people who don't have any sensitivities or allergies to it or its products. Now the long answer will go into more detail about the concerns about peanut butter and even other brands about peanut butter. So if you're interested, stick around. Peanut butter contains around 190 to 210 calories, give or take, depending on if the manufacturers decide to add in the calories from fiber or not. Peanut butter is a good source of polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fatty acids, which are known to help your good cholesterol, the HDL cholesterol. And it has very little saturated fat. It also contains a good amount of protein, about 7 grams, and it has a relatively good amount of vitamins and minerals, specifically vitamin B3, vitamin B6, vitamin E, and micronutrients like phosphorus, manganese, and magnesium. So, peanut butter has a good nutrient profile. Of course, if you're allergic, then it doesn't matter how good peanut butter is, because for people who are allergic, it's not healthy for them. People who have peanut allergies, the symptoms can range anywhere from dizziness to anaphylactic shock and even death, and any other symptoms in between. So peanut butter's nutrient profile does differ between brands depending on what's added and what's not added. Some brands decide to add salt and sugar to their peanut butter, and some even hydrogenated oils. Let's talk about each of those. Now, as far as sodium is concerned, peanuts don't have a very high sodium intake by themselves, but sometimes manufacturers will add salt to make the peanut butter, of course, taste good, and it's a good preservative for a longer shelf life. So it's important for those on a 2,000 calorie a day diet to keep their sodium intake at 2,300 milligrams or less. Now, depending on the brand of peanut butter, you can have anywhere between 25 to 150 milligrams of sodium per serving. And like I said, that is completely brand dependent. Sugar intake, on the other hand, is different. Ideally, people who consume added sugar shouldn't consume more than 50 grams. Depending on the brand of peanut butter you consume, per serving you can consume between 2 to 7 grams of sugar. 7 grams of sugar is not even that high. But if you factor in other foods that you might be eating throughout the day, and if you're someone who likes to eat peanut butter consistently, then you may want to consider purchasing a brand that doesn't have any added sugars. Something else that some manufacturers add to their peanut butter are hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenated oils are known for their trans fat content, and most people associate hydrogenated oils with trans fat. Just to clear some things up here, in 2015 the FDA stated that trans fats were not considered safe for consumption, which they are not. Trans fats, for those of you who may not be aware, does increase the LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and decreases the HDL, also known as the good cholesterol. Can increase your risk for stroke, heart attacks, and other inflammatory diseases. So it's best to avoid trans fats altogether. Specifically for peanut butter, hydrogenated oils was actually added to peanut butter, not only for shelf life and for taste, but also for easier stirring, which made it easier for scooping up and spreading. Natural peanut butter by itself doesn't have any hydrogenated oils, which means that there is oil separation, which means that you need to stir the peanut butter. Most manufacturers now add fully hydrogenated oils, which are not trans fats. Now, fully hydrogenated oils, it's mostly saturated fat. But in my personal opinion, I still recommend steering clear of any hydrogenated oils because they still go through a hydrogenation process, and I just don't think that's the healthiest thing to consume. Powdered peanut butter is a relatively new product out there and has at least 90% of the fat removed. And what's left over is protein and carbohydrates and fiber. So it's a nice product to use if you want a peanut butter flavor without the additional extra calories from fat. So what kind of brand of peanut butter do I recommend? Well, I recommend a product that only contains peanuts and maybe salt, but make sure that the sodium content per serving isn't too high and you should be good to go. Alright, so let's talk about aflatoxins. A lot of people who have concerns about peanut butter have concerns because of the aflatoxin content. Now, an aflatoxin is a toxin produced mainly by the family of fungi known as Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus. And this mold can be found in a lot of different products. It's not just peanuts, it's also cottonseed, it's other tree nuts, and it's maize or corn, as most people are familiar with. Now, these aflatoxins are associated with liver cancer, impaired immune function, and even malnutrition. Higher exposures can cause vomiting, nausea, and other uncomfortable conditions, but high exposure is relatively rare. The FDA and USDA does monitor high-risk foods for aflatoxins, in case you're wondering, and that does include peanuts. So let's talk about aflatoxins in peanut butter specifically. Depending on the area in which peanuts, or any product for that matter, that is at high risk for aflatoxins, depending on where it's grown, depending on agriculture practices and storage, that all comes into play with the amount of aflatoxins foods are exposed to. And if you're wanting to purchase foods that don't have a really high aflatoxin content, make sure to purchase foods that are not discolored or moldy. So any kind of sign that aflatoxins might be contaminating that food product, you want to discard and throw away. Also, purchasing from developed nations is safer than purchasing high-risk foods from developing nations. Purchasing from large brands is also a good strategy to reduce aflatoxin content. The larger the brand, the more it's monitored by the FDA and the higher standard they have to uphold to make sure that their products are clean. Not saying that smaller brands don't take measures to make sure their food products are clean. It's just another strategy if you want to lower your risk of aflatoxin exposure. Now, I do want to say that even though this is kind of concerning that aflatoxins are in peanut butter, just be aware that the FDA and USDA does monitor these foods to make sure that it's not high. Also, I did read an article that did state that during the peanut butter process, most of the aflatoxins are removed because of the blanching and the heating that the peanuts need to go through before it's turned into peanut butter. But I only read this from one source, and I don't know if that's the case with all peanut butters or maybe just some. So I can't say with certainty that aflatoxin content is completely diminished during the peanut butter process, but it is somewhat comforting to know if that is the case. In summary, yes, peanut butter is healthy for people who are not allergic or have any kind of sensitivities. Peanut butter does contain a healthy nutrient profile with a good amount of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. It does contain a good amount of protein and fiber. It's also a decent source of vitamin E, vitamin B3, vitamin B6, manganese, magnesium, and phosphorus. As far as brands are concerned, just be aware of what brand you're purchasing. Make sure that the brand you are going to buy doesn't contain any added sugars or excess sodium. Also, be aware of any hydrogenated oils of any kind. The FDA and USDA does look over high-risk foods that have the potential to contain high aflatoxin content. If you are a huge peanut butter eater though, just be aware of these things and maybe just eat peanut butter in moderation if necessary. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful for you and I hope you learned something from it. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below, and I appreciate your feedback. Once again, thank you for watching. Health is the greatest wealth, not pieces of gold and silver, as Gandhi would say. And as always, take care and hope to see you next time. See ya!